Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here. And it's turning into something truly, truly special. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. And I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're obviously talking about the AFC Championship game. That was a bizarre game. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe if you're a Chiefs fan, you enjoyed that game, obviously, since they won. But like, as a fan, more from the outside of these two teams, because this is neither of these teams are my teams. I would say it was just not a very fun game. I mean, 17-10 in an AFC Championship game with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. That's just not what you're expecting to see. I'm gonna let this clip run and then I'll share my thoughts, but I definitely have some pretty strong thoughts about this game. There was just really nothing fully special about this game. It was pretty disappointing, honestly.
First half from Kansas City, that game plan next to infallible. 17-7 was your halftime score, and then just as they did all season long, they put this game in the hands of the defense, and the defense answers the bell. The entire season long, Kansas City's defensive unit has not allowed a team to surpass 28 points, just 10 on AFC Title Sunday from the Baltimore Ravens. The top seed falls, Kansas City moving on. In studio, Joe Musso alongside the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, here to react to what we just saw. And Mac, these are the moments that Patrick Mahomes has come to define himself within. Again, it's Mahomes in the offense in the first half and the defense standing up and bowing up, as you like to say, in the second half. How you reacted to this moment and what we saw maybe over that last quarter or so?
Masterful job by Steve Spagnuolo and his staff, his players. Well-designed game plan going against the potential eventual MVP in Lamar Jackson. And what they did in the second half was outstanding. You talk about a second half where your offense was a bit stagnant, to say the least, not really generating anything productive, and they just continue to lean on the defense, and they answered on all three levels. When it seemed like Lamar Jackson was starting to get some momentum in the second half, when it seemed like they were starting to get positive things going with their offense, the Kansas City Chiefs came up with play after play. You talk about one of the more defining plays for me defensively for Kansas City. Right there, you see on the video right there. That's 7 points. But just the hustle, the effort of getting to the football allowed a huge game-changing turnover to happen when you basically took 7 points off the scoreboard. Heck, even you talk about not being able to, score that touchdown for Baltimore, you're still in prime field goal range also. So the plays like that led to the Kansas City Chiefs being able to do something that we've seen over years past, get to a Super Bowl. I mean, the defense was one of the main reasons why they had a successful season in a moment where they weren't going too far. Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid said, Steve Spagnuolo, we need you to get us home. Get us to the promised land. And he answered the call.
He certainly did. And in the first half, it was the offense answering the call. The game plan was beautiful and executed almost perfectly by Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes knew that this season, maybe the margin for error was smaller than in past seasons. Again, no interceptions in a playoff game. It's what we've come to expect by this man and this team. But this was not always the conversation we were having throughout the season, Mac. How does a team call upon a championship DNA in the way that they did in this game? I mean, you're missing an all-pro left guard. You're missing a big piece at the second level in the defense. How do they time and again find themselves heading to...
So, to me, this game has shown a few things. Two of the biggest ones, really, are this game showed Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid's maturity and brilliance, and really Andy Reid more than anything. He is the offensive genius. He had an actual good, solid game plan, great game plan to win this game. That call on with Mahomes before the 2-minute warning at the end of the game, that throw, that call. I mean, like, that's what makes an offensive coach so important. That's what makes an elite offensive coach so important. He put Patrick Mahomes in a position to succeed in this game. Even though it obviously wasn't this like offensive shootout, but he still put Patrick Mahomes in a position to succeed, to make good throws, high percentage throws. He threw for 77% completion percentage, touchdown, no interceptions, obviously, 241 passing yards, which for this game, was a decent chunk, so to speak. I know it's like a far cry from like the 350-yard games or anything like that, so we kind of scoff at sometimes these types of passing yard games, but it's a really good, solid game. And again, he wasn't trying to air it out or push the ball downfield. I think Patrick Mahomes' like average pass attempt was like 5.1 yards or something within that range. So again, it was a good game plan, which is smart by, Andy Reid more than anything. And then of course, Patrick Mahomes, what makes Patrick Mahomes so special is his consistency. Okay. And you really saw this. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. You really saw this on display when compared to Lamar Jackson's lack of consistency. I think Lamar Jackson is a great player. I really do. But this game, the other thing that it really highlighted was Lamar Jackson and, for that matter, a couple of the other players in the Ravens, their immaturity, their lack of consistency. Lamar Jackson just really showed his immaturity, slamming his helmet, getting all angry. And this is in the middle of the game. It's a tight game. It's 17-10. Anyone can win this game. And he was so frazzled. And this is exactly what I thought could maybe happen, where if things aren't going his way, is he going to rely on his legs too much? And I kind of, tried to point this out last week, that's like probably one of my biggest concerns, is that will he just kind of go back to the Lamar Jackson of old? And in a lot of ways, that's what he did. But I don't even blame him fully, because I also blame the offensive staff and Harbaugh for that matter, because I just don't know what game plan that was. And he was just completely outcoached by Andy Reid. And obviously the defense for the Chiefs played really good. They obviously did. But again, you just can't give all of that credit to the Chiefs. There's definitely credit towards the Chiefs, undeniably, right? But the Ravens just played a really bad, immature game from start to finish, and they had no good game plan. I mean, they abandoned the run, which doesn't make any sense. They're like a power running team, and they abandoned the run. And so I just don't really know what they were trying to do. This wasn't just like the Chiefs just completely shut them down and said no. That was part of it. That definitely, there was aspects of it, right? We even saw on the broadcast, a few key plays that the Ravens were completely covered on some of this, but that's not the whole story. And there was moments where the Ravens could really make some noise and do something. And then again, their own immaturity, their taunting. That taunting was unbelievable. I mean, I don't know. You can't do that. It's just stupid and immature. And that really hurt them. And then the touchdown, there would have been a touchdown, but it was a fumble. Yeah, it was a pretty good defensive play, but they teach this all the time. You don't reach out for the end zone like that. You don't do that. You're taught this. It's football 101. Okay, the only time you do that is if it's like the final play of the game, you reach out. The reason why you don't reach out is for that exact reason, because it's so much easier to punch out. If he just cradled the ball and held and just landed he would have been at the 1 yard line, and you would have been able to run it in for a touchdown. So again, that wasn't the Chiefs' just amazing defense. That was good heads up by them and not giving up on the play, but that was more stupidity by the Ravens more than anything. And I just really don't think that could be debated. I really, really don't. And then Lamar Jackson, that could have been a pass interference for that one call, but that wasn't necessarily the reason for the interception. But that was a terrible pass. I mean, it just really wasn't. He knew it. He's slamming his helmet down. Again, just immaturity, because the game, it was far from over at that point. Like, there was still time to win. And then too many men on the field, just like weird stuff. And it just showed that the Ravens weren't mature enough. Yeah, they obviously played great the whole regular season, and I think they were probably the best team. But when the pressure got higher, they were outcoached, outclassed, outmatured, if that's even a word. I mean, it was just not a good game by the Ravens. And unfortunately, I understand if you're a Chiefs fan, if you're watching this, you're like, what the heck? The Chiefs dominated it. They were the best, this, that, and the third. I get it. I really, really do. But I think it's from a more outside perspective, this game is kind of a bummer. It's a letdown, because you just want something a little bit more exciting, and you want to see two teams playing at their best, and the Ravens weren't playing at their best. Again, the Chiefs beat them, but this was a big part of the Ravens was, beating themselves as well. And the Chiefs were able to take advantage of it. And again, that's what makes the Chiefs so special. And to me, that's what makes Andy Reid so special, because his teams are never outclassed. They always know exactly what needs to be done. They're so well coached, and obviously they have issues too during the regular season and stuff like that. That's not to say that it's perfect, but Andy Reid knows how to get his team together. He knows how to prepare his team. He knows how to put together a good game plan as well. And again, he's constantly able to put Patrick Mahomes in a position to succeed, and that is a sign of a really, really good coach, because there wasn't really many moments in this game, I can't really think of any at the moment right now, honestly, where he just said, go ahead, Mahomes, just go make something happen. He didn't do that. I mean, I think there was maybe like once or twice, but it really wasn't the game plan. The game plan was, we have a very, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to be pushing the ball down the field. We are going to run the ball. We are going to, be very strategic with our throws and looking for, relying on Travis Kelce and things of that nature. We're not going to try to get, be too fancy. We are going to rely on our defense. And again, when they saw that Lamar Jackson was really struggling, again, they planned accordingly. So, because at the same time, it's not like the Chiefs came out there and set the Ravens on fire. I mean, they really didn't, at least offensively. And especially if you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, right? If Patrick Mahomes is so elite and so amazing in the GOAT, well, then you would expect him to be able to put more than 17 points on the board. But the truth is, he didn't have to. So again, the beautiful thing about not only Patrick Mahomes, but also Andy Reid, is that they didn't take any unnecessary risks, right? They were very conservative, especially in the second half. And they relied on their defense. And that's just smart game playing. That's just smart game planning. I remember an Eagles game when Nick Foles, when he already won the Super Bowl, so it was the next year. Nick Foles, they were playing really well. They were rolling against the Saints, going to win that game. And it was they got too aggressive. Nick Foles threw a huge throw, like 50, 60 yards, whatever it was, and it ended up being intercepted. And I just remember thinking, that was not needed, and that was stupid, and it was a bad play call. They had the game, they were in control, they didn't need to do that. They had the Saints on the back foot, they didn't need to go for the kill shot and go for a 60-yard pass. If they just were more conservative, like we saw Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes do, then maybe the Eagles end up winning that game, and then who knows what happens in the rest of the playoffs. And to me, that is what Andy Reid is just the genius at. He just always makes the right decision, or he makes the right decision like 95% of the times, way more than any other coach. And the beauty of Patrick Mahomes is that Patrick Mahomes follows that game plan and can go off book when needed be, of course, obviously, right? He's a master at doing that as well. But he can just do what needs to be done. And it's really awesome and great to watch. But this was definitely disappointing for Lamar Jackson. And you can't just say, I think Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson both are on the hook for this game big time. I mean, seriously, like big time. I mean, this was ugly. Going into the future, any future playoff games, there's no trust in Lamar Jackson. You have undeniable trust in Patrick Mahomes, right? He's going to come up in the playoffs. He's going to play pretty well. Even Josh Allen, right? He will step up. Joe Burrow will step up. Lamar Jackson at this point, this was a really bad, ugly game for him. Really bad. And it may not even look like that completely if you just look at the numbers or if you look at some of the highlights, but this was ugly. I mean, he just never looked composed. He never looked comfortable. And again, I know some of you Chiefs fans want to say, well, that was because of the Chiefs. It was part of it. It was definitely part of it. But Lamar Jackson couldn't endure it. And Lamar Jackson is a superstar in this league. He's a 2-time MVP, right? He should have been able to be way more composed. Josh Allen was way more composed in that situation. Undeniably, when he played the Chiefs in the playoffs, yeah, they didn't win, but Josh Allen never looked frazzled. Josh Allen was actually composed and was coming up with big plays, but it was just that the Bills were dropping the passes for that. And that wasn't necessarily the equivalence with Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson, outside of a few kind of fortunate plays for him where, he caught his own pass and then ran for however many yards it ended up being, it just was just an ugly game plan for the Ravens. And their immaturity. Again, him getting all mad and upset. When you see that on the sideline, and if you're a Ravens fan, you don't feel good about that. Or a Ravens player, not a fan. If you're on defense or offense and you see your leader, Lamar Jackson, doing that, you're not feeling good. You're not feeling united. You're not feeling rallied. So that is just bad leadership, honestly. And then Flowers, which I've already said, but it's just worth noting. that's not even a rookie move. I mean, like, that's like a, freshman move. That's what something that a 19-year-old does. You just don't do that. You don't do that for the exact reason why that happened. And the only time you reach out to try to score a touchdown like that is if it's like the final play, and you did not need to do that. He would have been tackled on like literally the 1 yard line or 2 yard line most, and they would have been able to pound it in. So, and because of that, because he reached out, that was what the fumble was. So again, it was a good heads up defensive play, but it was led by by Flowers by doing that, because if he just had it cradled and hugged it like you see a lot of the mature guys do, hugging it up and getting ready and taking the hit, that's different. But he wanted the glory, he wanted the touchdown, he reached out for it, and it was bad. And then again, Lamar Jackson getting frazzled, throwing the ball into like triple coverage. I mean, seriously, it was like triple coverage, and you could have thrown pass interference, and there was another pass interference call that they definitely missed. I don't like to blame the refs necessarily, because I think again, the Ravens didn't deserve to win that game, but two of those pass interference, one was debatable, the other one was definite. I mean, whether it was going to be defensive holding or pass interference, either way, it was a penalty, and then you don't know what happens. The way that game was going, you really don't, because let's say the Ravens were fortunate enough to score a touchdown. You can't just say, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes would have been able to lead them down the field and score a touchdown or a field goal. We don't actually really know that. The score was 17-10, so it was definitely kind of a coin flip, but all in all, as a fan, just a personal fan, that was just not a fun game to watch. I mean, it really wasn't. And I get it. If you're a Patrick Mahomes fan and a Chiefs fan, you're like loving it. You're like punching out for a fumble and an interception. That was exciting. That was great. They dominated the Ravens. Everyone said that the Ravens were going to win. And I get it. But again, I'm coming from a more outside perspective. I thought the Ravens were going to win that game, or I said that the Chiefs would win a close game. That was my prediction. It was either the Ravens were going to either win that game convincingly, or the Chiefs were going to win a close game. And hey, I think that constitutes as a close game. So, but it wasn't very exciting. I was thinking a close game, not a 17-10 game. I was thinking, I don't know. I really never try to think of scores, 24-21. I don't know, just something more exciting. And that game was just not exciting. And the moment I'm recording this, and probably by the time it posts, the 49ers game and the Detroit Lions game is going on. So I'm excited to watch that game. But hopefully that just gives us more action, because this is not what you're expecting out of the AFC title game between two of the most electric quarterbacks we've ever seen in the NFL. This was just bad. But in summary, the Ravens were outclassed, outcoached, outplayed, were clearly immature. And Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, especially Kelsey and Andy Reid, they know how to put together a game plan, and they clearly deserve to win that game. And that's really all the analysis you really, really need. And again, to me, this shows the brilliance of Andy Reid more than anything else. And then second to that is Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes didn't make any mistakes, and that's also what makes Patrick Mahomes so great. I think the lack of making mistakes is what also people kind of overlook for Patrick Mahomes. They look at all the electricity, how he can scramble and go off book and do all this type of stuff and improvise, all great things. But it's also the consistency and doing what needs to be done for the game plan, for Andy Reid's genius game plan. And that's in a lot of ways that Tom Brady was able to take advantage of the organization and the maturity of a Bill Belichick. And that's why, his teams never fell apart, always stayed composed. And that is the biggest benefit of Bill Belichick, outside of just obviously his defensive genius as well. Great. It's no question why great GOATs, like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, both have the best coaches of their respective eras and time and their side of the ball. That's not, just luck, or it's really not. So there's a reason for these things. But what do you all think? What did you guys think of that game? Did you think it was fun? Do you think it was interesting? I would love to hear your thoughts on this one. Like I said, I personally, as a fan of just football in general, I didn't love this game, but it was okay. I was expecting something more exciting than this, but cheers to the Chiefs, and I guess we'll see what they can do in the Super Bowl and see who they play. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe, and definitely please give this video a thumbs up, as it really helps with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.